Well, hi there. Welcome back to VGMporium, Video Game Music and More podcast, where we try to do our best to have everything for your VGM needs. And so, if you listened to last week's episode, you heard me mention that I'd be guesting on Rhythm and Pixels podcast with Robin Purnell, and I did. And most likely that episode just came out before this one, and it was a wacky time. And I really enjoyed myself, and it was just a great fun time to finally actually get to, talk to them, as opposed to just just the Discord chat and all with the texting and the stuff and what I'm not really good at. But yeah, it's getting me psyched to eventually bring on some of my own buddies to my show to talk about what they like in video game music. So now, if you did listen to that Rhythm and Pixels episode, at the very end I alluded to this episode, saying it would be a surprise for them, and it was related to something they had mentioned on their Nintendo episode, where they were doing a tribute to Gilva Sunna. And so what was that? They mentioned that they had never actually played any Virtual Boy music on their show, and that they would like to. And that's what I'm going to be doing today. I actually was planning on doing this eventually, but just hearing them talk about it on that episode just made me push it forward and become this one. So here's Robin Purnell. Here's your surprise. Gonna be telling you all about the Virtual Boy music and the sound chip. Maybe not get so much into the hardware. There's other folks that have done extensive cover on the Virtual Boy, such as Jeremy Parrish and his Virtual Boy works. If you haven't checked his stuff out, I really suggest you go check him out. And he also hosts Retronauts, who did about a month or so back an episode on the Virtual Boy. So yeah, they go into some really good detail about that. It's just really fascinating to hear all the details of everything that went into creating this dismal disaster. But one of the few things that isn't dismal about this system is the sound, which we are going to be talking about today. So that brings us to the track that brought us in today. So it is Singles 1 from Mario's Tennis, composed by Hitoshi Fukushima and Morihito Iwamoto. And as you can hear, it's very reminiscent of what the Game Boy sounded like. But there's a lot more going on in there, and we're going to be talking about the sound hardware a little bit later into the show. But for now, I'm going to tell you a bit about these composers. So first, we'll start with Morihito Iwamoto. They did the music for Bomberman Land 1 and 2. They did the movie sound for Mega Man X7, sound for Namco Museum, Tingle's Balloon Fight, and the last credit I could find was Plants vs. Zombies on the DS. And as for Hitoshi Fukushima, this is their only sound credit. They've largely done motion work and stunt work for games. So, for games like Devil May Cry 3, a lot of the Dynasty and Samurai Warrior games, Metal Gear Rising and Metal Gear Solid 5, and last credit was Monster Hunter World in 2021. And now, as you can guess, this is, of course, a tennis game. You either play, singles, so one-on-one, and, your character's in the foreground, and then your opponent's in the background, and, using the Virtual Boy's, weird, depth perception thing, because, one screen shows one in the background, and then one screen shows one in the front ground, and then they there's, some weird oscillating mirrors things going on to make it all blend together into, layers. And then there's also doubles mode, where you play 2-on-2. And I believe that this is the first Mario Tennis game, which, of course, Nintendo handed over to Camelot for them to work on the series. Not sure for how long. I'm not too familiar with the series. I've not actually played any of the Mario Tennis games at all, so don't have much familiar with that. All I know is that they have really good music by, Motoi Sakuraba, so that's a double plus good right there, isn't it? But this sounds very much different from that music. It's a little bit more reminiscent of, Hip Tanaka's kind of early NES stuff, and, the game of music he made and everything, just really kind of minimal, nice little rhythms going on that kind of like those little that doo, 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 just consistent kick little pulse thing, and yeah, just a really enjoyable little tune. And I'm gonna move us right along to our next tune. It is Desert of Desolation World 3 from Panic Bomber, composed by Shinichi Sakamoto and Jun Chikuma. That was Desert of Desolation from Panic Bomber, composed by Shinichi Sakamoto and Jun Chikuma. And what this game is a port of Panic Bomber from the PC Engine, or TurboGrafx 16, as we know here in the States. And it is a match 'em up puzzle game based on Bomberman. And so what you get is you get blocks of 3 heads. Yes, heads, Bomberman heads, like white, black, green, and red. I think maybe blue as well. And you gotta match them up, and it knocks them off the screen and everything. And I think the goal of the game is to like stack as much as you can, try to build up bombs on the bottom, because like they'll kind of come up. And then you get and then the goal is to hopefully be able to make a clearing so you can actually drop a bomb down to the other bombs, which will blow up, just create like a huge chain combo thing, which then will help fill up your opponent's screen with things that don't blow up, as far as I can tell, by just taking quick looks at it and all. And it's no wonder that the music is so good, because most of Bomberman's music is really good. I think my favorite Bomberman soundtrack is the Mega Bomberman on the Mega Drive. That one is really, really crazy sounding. Those composers at Hudson Soft really knew what they were doing. And speaking of composers, Shinichi Sakamoto has composed music for Wonder Boy and Monsterland on the arcade and Sega Master System and Game Gear and all those other systems and all those wacky naming things. So Wonder Boy and Monsterland 3, all that. I don't know if that confusing story. I don't know about that, but and then also has done AoE Blink on the PC Engine, Jaws on the NES, and then Jun Chikuma has been pretty much a mainstay on Bomberman throughout the years. They've also done the music for Adventure Island and Fact Xanadu. And before we move on, I just want to point out that really cool stereo panning that they do of that chord, starting from the left, going to the right, and they just do it all throughout, and it's just really cool little trick. So now we're going to move on to this next track, and I was not expecting to find it in the Virtual Boys catalog here, but this is from Waterworld. It's the level theme, originally the map theme from the SNES version, originally composed by Dean Evans and arranged by Johnathan Dunn. I'm just going to say it here, Mr. Dunn did a fantastic job on this one. Damn, that is so good. That is a level theme. Originally the menu theme from the SNES version from Waterworld. Originally composed by Dean Evans and arranged for the Virtual Boy by Johnathan Dunn. And I would imagine by now most VGM enthusiasts would be familiar with Dean Evans' music from the ever so enjoyable Oceans games. Whew. It's crazy just how many bad games have some awesome music. I mean, Dean Evans and stuff is just like standout like SNES goodness. So let's go down the list of what he's done. So he's done games like Phobia, Hook, Terminator 2 on the Amiga, Lethal Weapon, Eek the Cat, Cool World, Flintstones on the SNES, Waterworld as well. He eventually left Ocean to start working at this other company called Warthog Games for a bit. And then he left that and started his own company called Bumbray Audio, and he's still running it and making stuff. And then Johnathan Dunn, oh man, he has an extensive list. He got to start doing, Ocean Softwares, same as Dean. But what he has done is just insane amount of stuff. He's like things for like the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum, the Amstrad CPC, Amiga, the Atari ST. Of course, was like the standout games that he's done is like Total Recall, Platoon, Rambo 3, Jurassic Park, RoboCop. And here's one I didn't know about: Cool World on the NES, where Dean Evans did the Cool World on SNES. And the last game he did was Dragon Tales, Dragon Wings on the Game Boy Color. But damn, this guy has a pretty big list of things he's composed for. Mostly a lot of like ports and everything of other games that he had already composed for on other systems. So yeah, that's the fun of those microcomputers over in Europe. Just so many different versions going all around. So before we move on, I want to just mention that the first time I heard this song, or at least the original SNES version, was in the if you're familiar with Jadooby Dubs, they did a one where Power Rangers PSAs, where they dubbed over all like these weird the Power Ranger PSAs that were going on in the 90s. And occasionally, they would use this one in the background for like one that was a little more serious, and it was just like, it just works so well. It's just so stupid, but I don't know. I remember my grandmother took me to actually go see this movie in theaters when it came out, and even as a kid, I was just like what is going? What? It's just water and grubby people on jet skis. Just I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is about the actual sound chip that's in the system. So let's get into this. What it is, it's a custom designed sound chip called the Virtual Sound Unit, or VSU, and I've also seen it referred to as the VSU-VUE. And what it is, it's a 5 channels of wavetable with 1 channel set aside for noise, so that's 6 channels total. Just imagine like the PC Engine's HUC 6280, the 6-channel wave channel sound chip that's in there. That one of the 2 of the channels can be used for noise, and then there's a way to switch on samples and everything. But it's not as powerful. It's lacking the bass range and some of the frequency precision of the wavetables that the PC Engine has. And in case you're not familiar with what wavetable is, it's basically just taking a snippet of a wave, and I think in this case, usually it's 16 bits, so just it can be anything. So it can be say sine or a square or a triangle, or it can be a little bit more complex, a little more jaggedy, maybe a little like a sawtooth or some kind of weird offset sawtooth. I don't know. It gets kind of crazy, and all I know is that if you do it right, if you do it really good, you can get some really good sounds out of it. Case in point here. Yeah, for the most part, a lot of the music sounds like just like a really souped up Game Boy. And actually, the Wonder Swan actually has a similar sound, like a sound setup. Of course, because that was also created by Gunpei Yokoi, so he kind of carried some of things over from the Virtual Boy to that. And one little extra tidbit here is that it had a feature very similar to the Famicom, where the cartridges could have additional chips in there for more sound, and the Virtual Boy was set up to have extra pin slots for those. But none of the games took advantage of it because, obvious reasons. But I feel like, that what we have here so far is actually pretty nice. Nothing really lacking. Most of the music on, for the Game Boy, these Virtual Boy games, are actually really good. It's a lot of the composers really took advantage of the sound, the sound chip, doing some cool phasing effects to get some nice, really thick sounds, taking advantage of that more finer controlled panning as opposed to, just being hard left or hard right, as we heard in the Panic Bomber track. And now with that done, we're going to move on to our next track here. It is from Virtual Boy Warioland. It is the level theme 1, composed by Kazumi Totaka. That was level theme 1 from Virtual Boy Warioland, composed by Kazumi Totaka. And if you're at all familiar with the Virtual Boy, then you probably know about this game, just kind of from looking it up and possibly even emulating it. I know I did. And, besides everything being 3 shades of red plus black, this game is really nice looking. Like, the character sprites are really big and chunky. There's a lot of nice, background animations going on. Like, all the character animations are really nice looking. And taking advantage of the quote-unquote 3D effect of the Virtual Boy, there's 2 planes of, play, so you'll be mostly playing in the foreground, but then there's platforms that'll shoot you towards the background, where there's stuff that you can collect and do, and enemies to fight and stuff, and then vice versa, it'll launch you back over to the front, and you just keep doing that throughout, collecting treasure, doing your Wario stuff. This is pretty much just the first Wario Land, but instead of exploring like an island to find treasure, you're exploring these series of ever rising caves to find treasure. And then at the end, you fight some really wacky boss, and then depending on how much treasure you collected, you get a different ending, as would be the mainstay of all the Wario Land games, which is actually one of my favorite series of games made by Nintendo. And I'd have to say that Wario is one of my favorite Nintendo characters. People like Link, people like Mario, people like Yoshi, Kirby. Wario for me, because he's just unabashedly bizarre. What more to say? He's a Wario. I'm a Wario. I'm gonna win. Excuse me. I don't really know what took me there. Well, and now to tell you about the composer, Kazumi Totaka. He has been a Nintendo mainstay composer, all the way up until now. So he started out doing Super Mario Land 2. So it's kind of why this might sound familiar if you played that on the Game Boy. He also did some music for Mario Paint along with Hip Tanaka, Link's Awakening, Wave Rave 64, the Mario Artist Studio series. I'm not sure what that was on. I imagine it was a Japan only thing. He did some of the music for Wii Channel and the Wii Sports. And then the last credit I saw is Animal Crossing New Horizons in 2021. And so now we will be moving on from Wario, but he will be making a return to this show for sure, because I love the music from those games. But I'm gonna get you the next track here. It is what is this here? Where am I at? We've got Temple of Nightmare from Jack Bros, composed by Hiroyuki Yanada. That was Temple of Nightmares from Jack Bros, composed by Hiroyuki Yanada. And this is a strange one because what it is actually it is the first game to be released outside of Japan that is related to the Megami Tensei series of games. This is a spin-off where you get to play as Jack Frost, Jack Lantern, and Jack Skeleton, the Jack Bros. And you travel to the human world for Halloween, and you lose track of time, and so now you've got to get your way back to the fairy world before time runs out by collecting keys throughout stages. And what the genre that this is under is top-down shooter, but it also sounds more kind of like an action puzzler as well, though like not as puzzly. I don't know. It's an interesting looking game, and the music is really awesome all throughout, and it looks really nice too. And it's a shame that that they made the Virtual Boy as it is, because a lot of these games are really good, and Jeremy Parrish in his videos actually connects it to a regular TV, so it's all like flat, doesn't have the 3D effect, but they still look good. I mean, so this could have very easily just been like a beefier Game Boy handheld, like a true successor instead of like what we got with the Game Boy Color. We could have had this, still be a monochrome color, but sounds and looks amazing. But alas, only dreams. And so I'm gonna tell you about Hiroyuki Yanada here. He's done music. He's been like an Atlas composer for a good while. He's done the music for Shin Megami Gaiden, Last Bible 1 and 2 on the Game Boy, as well as 3 on the Super Famicom. All 3 of these only being released in Japan, of course. And then the last one I found was Naname de Magic, and don't really have any clue of what that is. And as good as this music is right now, I can only imagine what it would have been like if they had taken advantage of the the ability to have the additional sound chips in the cartridges. Just imagine what this would have been like if it had 3 or 4 extra wavetable channels on this, or even just some regular pulse or a triangle extra noise channel. Who knows? It would have been more dreams and more dreams, but none. That's all we can do is just dream of it. Maybe even try to recreate it ourselves in whatever music program we use, if you so desire. And so now we're about to go in for a nice tonal shift. Maybe nice isn't the right word here, but yeah, we're going to be listening to Bamsham from Telero Boxer, composed by Katsuya Yamano. Whoa, that balls to the walls thrasher was Bamsham from Telero Boxer, composed by Katsuya Yamano. Probably should go see a doctor about this or something. Maybe seeing all this red color is just kind of doing more than straining my eyes. Let's tell you a bit about the composer here, Katsuya Yamano. Looks like this game is his only musical credit here. It's strange, another one. He's mostly been a supervisor at Nintendo for projects like Super Metroid, some of the WarioWare games, and the Rhythm Tengoku series of games, as well as a project manager for Other M, Samus Returns, and Metroid Dread. Boy, loves his Metroid, huh? It's a real shame that he hasn't, composed any other music, because, this one is a real banger, and, the rest of the soundtrack is actually pretty good, too. But, oh well. Now, about Telero Boxer here. A good way to think of it is like a first-person Punch-Out, basically. The premises of the game is that in the future, the 22nd century, there's a new technology called telerobotics, where a human can control robots to do tasks that normally, would be unsafe for humans. And then, that eventually led to a thing called Telero Boxing, which is basically just these humans fighting with these robots. And all you see of yourself are just your fists, and then the whole screen is basically just taken up by your enemy, and they're just moving around. Like, they have all these different parts that are just moving, everything. They're like nice, big, chunky, detailed, just really cool looking. Again, taking really good advantage of that 3D effect, because your enemy's right there, and then they go to punch, and it's just coming right at you. It's coming right at you. It's like coming right. Whoa! What are you gonna do? You dodge? You're gonna punch? You punch, and your fist goes right up to it, and it's just kind of a cool looking thing. It's just a shame that it's all in that monochrome red. It's just if Nintendo had waited another year instead of trying to push it out, they could have gotten those cheaper multicolor LEDs. But no, they had to focus it all on the N64. Push the Virtual Boy out there because who knows? Maybe one of our competitors will come up with something that's similar to it and beat us to the punch. But nay, Nintendo beat themselves with their own punch and gave themselves a black eye, which took a good while to fade away. And speaking of away, so this show's beginning is ready to about draw to a close. But I'm gonna play you one last track here. It's the ending/staff roll from Golf, composed by Ken Kojima. That was ending/staff roll from Golf, composed by Ken Kojima. And, not much to expect from this game. It's just Golf. It's not Mario Golf. No Mario here. It's just a, regular looking guy with his hiked up shorts and his little golf cap. And you just hits the ball and you can watch it just go off in the distance. Not much to really say about Ken Kojima here. You know, he hasn't really done much. He did a couple other games for the Virtual Boy, like 3D Tetris and Red Alarm, and then a couple PS1 games, The Note and Blaze and Blade Eternal Quest, as well as one game for the Super Famicom's Satellaview system, Kuon Pa SFC. And I had to dig for a bit to find those last 3 credits there. And of all the tracks that I played tonight, I don't know what it is for you, but right now it's tonight, but earlier it was today. But yeah, this one is probably the most Game Boy sounding of the tracks, you know, as far as like the tones you use, because you're really just using kind of like, you know, really nice simple waves, and the noise percussion he's got going on there is that kind of nice crunchy Game Boy sound. And yeah, you know, I think the rest of the soundtrack is, you know, it's okay. You know, this is, I think for me, the standout track in this game. And that's about all I got for you this episode here, you know. I was going to order these a little later from VGM Reps, but, you know, hearing Robin Purnell talk about it, just maybe, you know, put an express order in, you know, and I just got them from VGM Reps, and yeah, you know, and that's where you can go and find the rest of these games soundtracks in VGM format is on VGM Rips. There's not many, you know, probably maybe like a little more than 10. But if you want more music that's similar to this, you know, there's of course the PC Engine, but maybe closer in tone to what, you know, heard today is the Wonder Swan. And I believe there's some of that being put on VGM Rips now. You know, it's same kind of setup, you know, maybe I think it's like 4 channels, but still the same kind of a wavetable synthesis going on, which makes sense because the Wonder Swan was created by Gunpei Yokoi, along, you know, with the help of Bandai, and a lot of the music on that is really good actually. And you know, I might do an episode on the Wonder Swan in the future because I haven't really explored it as much, and I'd like to. So that's gonna be a fun one to do. And yeah, with that, before I say goodbye, I would encourage you, if you are, you know, comfortable with it, to emulate, you know, the Virtual Boy and play it. You know, there is a standalone Virtual Boy emulator out there, and it has an option for a different color palette, so it won't be like that ice raining red all the time, which is you know, really nice and makes it a little bit more enjoyable to play. No. I'd like to thank Purnell and Rob of Rhythm and Pixels again for having me on as their guest. It was just a great, awesome time to get to hang out and talk with them, and I really look forward to having one or both of them on my show at some point in the future. And yeah, and as I said on their episode, were a couple ideas I was wanting to do, and, you know, pretty beefy ones, and I think the next one I'm going to do is going to be focusing on this trilogy of albums that came out from this community, this FM online community called Soundshock, and I'm calling it the FM Funk Trilogy. It's going to be a really good one. It's a lot of really awesome just FM music. And, you know, I'm looking forward to getting to talk about them. So, yeah, with that, I've been your host, Rage Cage. You can find me on all kinds of the social medias, you know, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Eventually, I'm going to, you know, again, do the YouTube thing when I get around to it. And then, of course, you can find VGMporium on a lot of these same... these same social media things, as well as its own email, the VGMporium@gmail.com. You know, I mostly made it just so I could, you know, create all my other accounts and stuff. But if you want to send something to it, go right on ahead. It's there. It's got an inbox, and it's mostly just filled with advertisements and little notifications from all my things that I've signed into with it. So it'd be nice to see something a little different in there. And you can also find VGMporium on all the you know, major podcasting things like Spotify and Google and Apple Podcasts. And, you know, maybe a thing to take away from the Virtual Boy is that even though something may be a total disaster, there's always just something, you know, there's always some small good thing to kind of glean from it. So you can kind of dig through the rubble and you'll find the shiny little treasure that's in there that'll, like this music here. So, yeah, with that, I say goodbye to you. Goodbye. Until next time you come to shop at VGMporium.